Guess who's back? It's time for AppSumo's Black Friday 2024 drop number 3. My name is Dave, and I review lifetime deals every single day of the week. This is a little show I like to call the Taco Truck Roundup. We're going to get into everything that has just come out at AppSumo. I'm going to help you decide what is a good fit for your business and what you can forget about. This video is sponsored by AppSumo, by the way, but that doesn't influence my reviews in any which way. I think AppSumo is the best place online to buy LTDs, but not every single product in any store is worth buying. So with that established, click my links in the description if you want to follow along, and let's get into it. Here is deal number 1. Our first deal of this drop is called TaskMagic, and this app is a lot like Zapier, except it has some superpowers, namely that it can control your keyboard and mouse. So imagine anything you might do in Zapier, like connect up your email marketing platform to your website. But maybe there's a step in there where you want it to click on something or type something. Well, that's the secret sauce of TaskMagic. Let me show you how it works. All right, so here is a TaskMagic account. Now, I'm not gonna go too deep into this automation stuff because I feel like there's a pretty high barrier to entry. Now, I don't want that to scare you off, but just know that if you're going to go down this path, go into it with a little bit of playfulness in mind. You'll need to learn some things. There's gonna be a learning curve, and it's actually really fun when you get into it. Now, with any of these automation tools, I always recommend that people check what apps are natively supported because those will be the easiest for you to work with when you're just getting started. Inside of TaskMagic, you can see this if you click right over here where it says connections. Now, I've already connected up my Google Sheets account as well as my email account, but there are hundreds of different connections available. Let's take a look over on new connections. And yeah, check it out. As I scroll through this, you're definitely going to see some apps that you recognize, probably some you don't as well, but there are tons of things that are natively supported. And if anything isn't supported that you want to use, and maybe you're just the slightest bit technical or are willing to go out to something like ChatGPT for a little help, you could always use a webhook to connect together different apps. That's kind of like that learning curve that I'm talking about. You'll have a few little things you need to get used to. If you've never used a webhook before, well, you know what? You'll feel really good when you get your first one to send data to and from another application. And hopefully it's profitable too and actually makes you some cash. I'm scrolling through here. You're going to see there's a lot of big name apps. There's a lot of open source apps. There's a lot of LTDs on here. There's just about everything you can imagine. So that is the first thing. They've got a very wide catalog of different apps that are supported. Look, they even support themselves. Now, it's also worth mentioning that TaskMagic has AI support. There's an AI button right over here, and if I click on that, I can see that I can connect up my OpenAI or Anthropic accounts so that any of your flows could also create some content in the middle. So I think one of the templates they actually have is to generate a tweet every time you post on WordPress. So just, nice little things like that where it could take a large amount of content and then summarize it down into a tweet. If you trust AI enough to publish on your behalf, it could really save you a lot of time. Now, the browser automation stuff is right over here, and I'm not going to get into that in this video. I'm going to start very, very simple and just show you a basic flow. So let's go ahead and create a new flow right here. And I'm going to start from scratch, but there are some templates. You can see not a ton of templates, but you can see some ideas here, especially helpful if you just want to get into this and kind of see how it all connects together. Then definitely check out the templates. But for now, I'm going to start from scratch. Now, with all of these automation connector tools, every single automation starts the same way. It needs to have a trigger. Something happens and that causes other things to happen after it. So in this case, I'm going to connect up my Google Sheet, and anytime that's updated, I want to receive an email. Pretty simple automation. Here is how we can set it up. So here my trigger is going to be Sheets. I'm going to look up Sheets. That's going to show me Google Sheets. Now I want to have any new or updated rows send off this automation. Now, I already connected up Google Sheets. That is dead simple to do. You just basically do the login thing and grant access, like I'm sure you've done before, connecting up to any Google style account. Then over here, I can choose that connection. You can label this however you like. I wasn't very creative and just left it at Google Sheets. Now what it's doing is actually going out to my account, and it's finding all of the spreadsheets that are in my account. I created one called TaskMagic for this demo. So now it's found the TaskMagic demo, and it's looking at the different tabs at the bottom of the sheet. In fact, I'll show you. I've got the sheet open here. I've got two different tabs at the bottom. They're just called Sheet 1 and Sheet 2, the default names. But if I go back over to TaskMagic, I can actually choose which one of those tabs I want to work on. My data is in sheet 1, so I'll go with that. Now, right over here, you saw this kind of lit up green. That means it's got enough data, it's ready to go. There's enough inside of the trigger that we could proceed to the next action. But if I wanted to be more specific, I could do that as well. There is a trigger column. So if I only cared when data in a certain column was updated, I could specify that. Here are the different columns inside of the sheet. I've got teams, wins, and losses. And just to show you, here it is, teams, wins, and losses. It pulled the data in correctly. In this case, I'm going to go with all columns. Any update is good with me. And the next step is to, of course, connect up my email. So I'll click on the plus button. I'm going to search for SMTP, which is my email connection. So I'll go ahead and choose send email as the action that I want it to take. And now in this step, it gets pretty fun because a lot of this data could be dynamic, meaning that it could be based on what was actually entered into the sheet itself. I'm going to keep it pretty simple and I'll just set up my connection. It's the SMTP connection. I'll set up the email to be from sales@clientamp.com and it's going to go to me. But here, like I was mentioning, this could be dynamic. It could be maybe something inside of the field. Like if someone filled out a Google form and it loaded into your Google Sheet, I could get an email address out of this and actually send them a private message or somewhat automated message. It would be like having my very own marketing automation email platform built right inside of TaskMagic. In this case, I'm going to stick with myself just for demonstration purposes because I'm not entering in emails on the sheet itself. Now I only need to enter in the subject line and the body. You can see those are red. If I get that much data, I'll be able to run this automation and we should see it work. All right, I'm just going to give it the subject line, big update. And then in the body, this is where I'm actually going to pull in the specific update. So first I need to get some data loaded to use as a sample here. So we'll click go to trigger. That's going to take me back to step 1. And I simply need to load in some sample data. So there's a key command for this, or I can click right here and just load in the sample data. So I've loaded in the sample data. Now I'm going to head back to step 2. And I'm going to go back down to the body section here. And now I can choose new or updated row and I'll click insert. And it's going to automatically insert that new or updated row. Whatever is entered in, that's the email that I'm going to receive. Okay, we can run this as a test next. In fact, we have to run it as a test. You'll notice there is a little exclamation mark over here. That means I'm not ready to move on until that goes away. So the only thing left to do is run the test. And assuming this is successful, this little exclamation mark should go away. And it did test successfully, so we are good to go. Now, in order to try this out, I actually need to publish the flow itself. And of course, I'll get an email if anything changes, but to make sure it's actually working, we can check over here where it says runs. And this is going to give me a log of every time this action has taken place. Okay, so I'm in Google Sheets, and let's say this is my son's Little League team, or like his standings for his baseball. I'm going to go ahead and give them an extra win here, and then we'll come back to TaskMagic and see how long it takes for it to update. And there it is. You can see it updated. It only took a second to run. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that email looks like. All right, so here's the email. The data is not very pretty, but of course I could clean that up. And certainly I can see actually what happens here. But everything is working and I only spent a few moments and I got some success. So that's pretty cool. Now, the value that a tool like TaskMagic brings to your business is largely dependent on the type of work that you're doing, yes, but also your creativity and your imagination with this stuff. Assuming you're not a developer, because you don't need to be to use this platform, but you might not think about all of the different ways that you could make your life simpler or more profitable. So, give yourself some time, try it out. And if it's not working, you've always got the 60-day money back refund from AppSumo. But overall, I think TaskMagic is a very, very nice implementation of this kind of classic Zapier automation. And we didn't even touch upon the browser automation stuff, but that is definitely worthwhile. You can see I'm using a free plan here. So no, not trying to get around it. I'm demoing this. I don't have access to it without paying. But I do know I've seen many automations work really, really well with the browser automation stuff. It's actually kind of cool. It pops open a little Chrome window and it does everything right on your computer screen. So here are the plans and pricing for TaskMagic. Now, there are some higher end plans that include things like dedicated IPs and proxies and some more advanced stuff. But I think for most of us, the tiers 1, 2, or 3 are going to be a great fit. Now, with tier 3, you do get the added benefit of basically unlimited all of the features. You can have as many file downloads and users as you want. If you've got a big team, definitely eye that one up. Yeah, but otherwise just go ahead and give it a try maybe at the lower level tier and decide if you want to upgrade to get more features. Overall, TaskMagic is a very impressive tool. I'm going to give it an 8.2. Moving on from automation over to no-code app building, this is Nowa. You can build a full-on mobile app that you can sell in the Apple App Store. Let's go ahead and check it out, and then we'll check out the plans and pricing after that. So here is a Nowa account. I'm going to go ahead and click Create. I'll give my project a name. I'll just call it Demo for right now. Now, Nowa is a very comprehensive platform, so I'm just going to show you the fundamentals, and then it's up to you to dig in and probably spend a few weeks really learning all of the nuances. You don't need to be a developer, but you also need to be a little bit technical to really build something that shines on this platform. Now, you could use it as just kind of a way to wireframe out an application. That would be fine too. What we're looking at here is basically the canvas, and you can change the background color of it. Let's say you wanted to make it darker and you want to turn on some grid so you can kind of make it look a little bit more like Figma. You could definitely do that. I mean, not that Figma is dark, but I find that when I have it on light mode, the dots get really, really faint. Like they could be a little bit more pronounced. Anyway, this is just the canvas. So what we need to do to get started building our app is, of course, have a screen. That's where the action takes place. So I'll click right up here, and now I've got a screen. I can choose between any of their presets, or I can choose a phone size here. You can do desktop apps, mobile apps, whatever you like. I'm going to choose an iPhone screen, and I'll just call this the home screen. All right, there we go. Now, in order to actually make this be the home screen, what I need to do is click on this button right here, and this will set it up as literally the home screen, the main screen that you always go back to inside of the app when you need to go back to the beginning. Now, there's a few main menu items up here. We just saw screens. That's how you add a new screen. We can have multiple screens. I'll add another one in a moment, but we also have shapes, text, and widgets. So shapes are basically exactly what they sound like. We can draw a shape, and when we've got it selected over here, to the right, we see its parameters. So in this case, its color, its border radius. I can add some curved corners, and you could essentially just design out your app here, not worrying about code at all. But the cool thing is, once you're done doing the design, you could build in some actual functionality and make it a real live app. Text is exactly what it sounds like. You can drop in some text here, have it say whatever you like, bring in variable, you kind of get the idea. Now, you might be noticing over to the left, as I'm adding in different elements, we can see them starting to stack up. And maybe I wanted to move my text above the container. I could definitely do that. And now you can't see the text anymore. So it's definitely like Photoshop layers as you get into using the design aspects of the tool. The last option over here is for widgets. And these are just simple design elements that you'll probably want to use throughout your application. So we can do things like buttons, images, you name it. You can do icons. Here's an icon. There's a whole library of different icons that you can choose from. No tacos though, that's gonna cost them in the score. Now we can also have additional boards. So this canvas here that I've been working on, let's say I fill it up with my design and I wanna continue working, but I don't want things to get too cluttered. Well, right up here, I can add in an additional board. And then from here, I might start by adding a second screen in. I'll just call this one screen 2, and there we go. Now there's a few fundamentals you wanna understand about Nowa. First of all, screens as well as something called components are reusable across different boards. So what I mean by this is, let's say I wanted to see the home screen on this board. Well, I can easily bring it in. I'll just go over to the file section here, and here's my home screen, and I can just drag it in, and now I've got both screens on the same board. Now, that didn't take it out of the other one. Here it is here, and I can make modifications to it, like maybe I'll add in a shape right here. If I go back to my other board, it's automatically updated because both screens and components, which are kind of just collections of other little widgets, those are reusable. And you can think of it like maybe a navigation bar. That might be a component that you want to live throughout the application. Yeah, there's a lot to learn here, but let's look at how we can actually make this do something, make it something other than a design tool. So I'm gonna go over to the widgets here, and I'm gonna grab a button, and I will just move this button over here to the home screen. And then with the button selected over on the right-hand sidebar, I'm gonna go down to the button section here, and notice I've got this little lightning bolt. If I click on this, it's gonna open up this screen where I can do all of my programming. Like for real, there's even a code mode where I can see everything that's going on. If I wanted to change it here, I could, but code scares me. So let's go back to the visual builder. And by the way, if this is distracting, just open it up in full screen. That's totally fine. Now, what I want to do is when I click on my button, it's just gonna take me to my other screen. So very simple navigational stuff, right? So I'll click on the plus button right here, and then I'm gonna type in navigate, and here is one of their little widgets. I'll click on that. Now I've got a navigator, and when you push on it, it will open up screen number 2. All right, so let's go ahead and try this thing out. I'm gonna press play right up here, and it takes me into a little simulator. I can see what my app would look like, and I can go ahead and click the button, and sure enough, it moves me over to my other screen, which is currently blank, and now my app is done for because there's no way to return back home. But you get the idea here. There is a lot of power and a lot of things you can do under the hood. Now you can also connect up other data sources, but this might be where you need to have a developer friend help out if you're really truly no code. Your data sources can be an API, so you could connect up to something like Ghost or WordPress or Shopify and bring in your data from those sources and then build out a literal mobile app for your website. That could be really powerful. Or if you have data stored on Supabase or Firestore, you could bring that into your app as well. And when you're all done building out your app, or at least done for now, you can connect it up to either the Android store, the iOS store, or use it just as a web app and publish it there. Really, really powerful stuff. I'm just barely scratching the surface here. Let's head over to the plans and pricing and see what we're gonna get for our cash. So all of the plans include unlimited projects, so you can build as many apps as you like. But the deployment, that's where the limits are gonna come in. So with tier 1, we can deploy the app 5 times per week. With tier 2, that goes up to 10. And once you get to tier 3, you get unlimited app deployments per week to the web or an APK file. Other things to take into consideration are, of course, storage. So on tier 1, we only get 500 megabytes of storage. If you go up to tier 2, you get 5 gigs. And if you go to tier 3, you get unlimited storage. Sounds amazing. Now, there's a few other very important things here, like you can't actually deploy to the App Store or the Google Play Store unless you're on tier 2 and above. You can see that's right down here. You don't get it with tier 1. So if you just want to make a web app, a very simple one, low storage, then tier 1 is your choice. Otherwise, you're looking at a one-time purchase of at least $200. Now, keep in mind, these prices will increase. It's only going to be $200 for the first 48 hours, and then you can expect about a 10% price increase. So this is going to go from $200 to $220. If you want to collaborate on your app with other people, well, then you're looking at tier 3 and above, because that's when we get team sharing. Overall, Nowa is a very impressive founder of AppSumo, but Nowa is also a very impressive no-code app. I'm going to give it a 7.7 out of 10. Our next deal comes in at just $69, at least for the next 48 hours. It is Albato. Now, this is a serious competitor to Zapier. Not that TaskMagic wasn't serious, but Albato shares a lot more similarities with Zapier than TaskMagic does. Let me give you a quick tour of the platform. Here are all of the templates that are built in. Over 1,300, so you can do so much with this application, but it is a little bit more on the technical side of things. I'll just call out a few templates here, like they've got Facebook leads to Google Sheets. So if you're doing Facebook ads and you want to store those leads on a sheet, you can do that very easily just with this little template. Click install, connect up your apps, and you'll be good to go. Or maybe you want to update your WordPress post from an Airtable. Well, there's a template for that as well. Now, just like with TaskMagic, we're going to start off by connecting up our apps. So it's right here under apps. You can go through and just connect up apps. There are over 500 supported, so an absolute huge amount of apps here. You're gonna find everything from open source tools, major apps, things like, Canva is gonna be on here, ClickUp, all of the big name tools, Notion, that's all gonna be here, but you're also gonna see a lot of AppSumo tools in here as well. So keep your eyes peeled, you'll probably find the tool you're looking for. And if you don't, one of the most powerful things about Albato is its app integrator, which allows you to use no-code building to integrate any app that you want right into this automation platform. All right, back over to the app section here. I already connected up my email accounts and my Google Sheets, very similar to what I did in TaskMagic. Doing so is quite simple. I just entered in all of the same information that you saw before. I've got my login and my SMTP host and everything here. This is for email. And then for Google Sheets, it was another one of those where you just pop open the little Google Authenticator, hit OK, and give it access to your Google Sheets. Now you'll notice here, there's a webhook URL inside of Google Sheets. A lot of the integrations inside of Albato require a webhook integration, whereas with TaskMagic, I was able to do it just via the API. Now that can be good and bad. Webhooks update very, very quickly, and APIs can be a little bit slower. So on the surface, it might seem like a good thing, but it does add a lot of friction to that initial setup. This is the automation screen, and here we can create groups like folders for our automations and organize them however we see fit. I've got an automation that I created already. It's not in any group, but you can see it has an API connection over to Google Sheets. If I open this up, you can see the flow. It's pretty simple. It's just going to go out and look at this Google Sheet, and if there's an update, it should send it to me via email. Now, I'm going to delete this trigger and rebuild it just to show you how this works. So this is very similar to what we saw in TaskMagic, where every single automation starts with a trigger and ends up having some kind of action following it. We can have multiple actions, of course, but this is a very simple automation. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this trigger again. I'll hit the plus button and notice it finds my Google Sheets integration right here. And what I'm going to do is I've got three options. I've got the API connection right here, which is new rows created. Now, this is very practical because if, let's say, you're having someone fill out a lead form, it could be Facebook, it could be anything, and you're saving those leads over to Google Sheets, well, maybe you need to notify people as soon as that sheet is updated, right? So they can do the outreach, maybe following up with a phone call. And often you want to do that as quickly as you humanly possibly can. So having a automation when a new row is created, then fire off some kind of a message. It could be an email, it could be a Telegram message, it could be anything, Slack, you name it. Well, that makes a lot of sense, right? So this connection is probably what more people will use. But there is another one down here, which will watch for cell changes and then send the row. So this one is a webhook integration. If you choose this, which is what I tried to do to start, well, then you're in for a lot more setup. It's not that bad. I'm not trying to make it seem terrible, but they do have a doc here that's fairly long, and it goes through all of the steps to get your webhook URL. And then they give you this little bit of code, and you have to copy all of the code and replace this line with your webhook. And then you go into your Google Doc, and over in extensions, you open up your scripts. And here's my script. You have to paste it in and update everything here, and then you give it permissions. It's a lot of whoop-de-doo to go ahead and just get some leads saved over into your platform or get a notification for the leads. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do this if it was necessary, but it was a lot of extra work compared to what I was able to do in TaskMagic. It's just clear to me that Albato is very much a power user tool, even if they want to sell it as something that's very simple. Even doing this simple task was like, you want all of the nuance, all of the features available. Like when I wanted to create my email here to send off the message, right? I can click in here, and then the fields that it's going to send to me, well, I've deleted it, so I can't show you right now. Let me set it up. All right, I deleted the trigger. I just went ahead and reconfigured it. So I've got a spreadsheet here, same as before, really. And now I've got this all set up. I'm going to send real-time data. So when data gets collected, it's going to fire off this next step, which is basically the email, right? So if we look at the email settings, the actual data that gets sent is going to be right here under the text field. And now I can choose any of these rows, but unlike over in TaskMagic, I can't just say send everything that changes. I have to actually monitor a specific column or a specific row. It's a little bit more, and I can select more than one, of course, but it's a little bit more difficult to really just grab it all, I guess. So it's more nuanced. It's a professional tool. It's definitely more powerful. That's not to say that TaskMagic isn't powerful. It's powerful in different ways. You know, having that mouse and keyboard control is a whole next level. It's very, very different. But yet there's a lot of crossover too. So here are the plans and pricing for Albato. You can see that tier 1 starts off at $69, but tier 2 really adds in a lot of features, things like the app integrator, which I mentioned, to build your own integrations with apps that aren't already supported. And you also get custom webhooks, so you could make those integrations actually happen. Yeah, tier 2 is definitely where most people are going to want to start, at least. And then you can always scale as you need more limits, or maybe you need to choose the dedicated queue handlers, or you're just more technical, you want more features, then you'd move up in tiers. One nice feature of Albato is that you do get unlimited users per account for any account that you choose. That's really great. So if you need to collaborate on your automations, this might be the one for you. I think earlier I said there was over 500 apps. Well, turns out there's over 800. So just tons and tons of integrations. Yeah, so overall, Albato is a very impressive tool, but be prepared for a little bit more of a technical experience. I'm going to give Albato a 7.9 out of 10. Up next, a little bit of WordPress. This deal is for ElementsKit, an Elementor add-on pack. Fun fact, did you know that Elementor is literally the most popular WordPress plugin with over 10 million active installations? That's just incredible. Congratulations to Elementor. Now, if you want to extend Elementor even further with a one-time cost, you could check out ElementsKit. There are over 100 elements in this pack. Well, 47 of them are free, but there's 54 pro elements. I mean, 54, that is a ton. What I'm going to do here is just call out a few of them that I think look really cool, might catch your eye, and help you decide whether or not you want to pick this one up. First up is the content ticker. I've noticed a rise in popularity of the old school kind of scrolling tickers like you used to see on CNN back in the day. Yeah, they're all over the web now, and with ElementsKit, you can very easily add nice and stylish looking tickers to your website. I like the little animations that you can add in. It really adds a nice polish to it and does kind of make it feel like an old school news network. Or these circle menus are pretty cool. We can click here and we get these little menus where you can choose other things. Now, this is a little bit outside of the realm of normal convention of UI, so it might be a little bit confusing, but I think it's kind of stylish and interesting for the right type of website. I mean, don't put this on your plumber's website, but you get what I'm saying. And speaking of stylish, check out this stylish list element here. These all look really good as well. This one kind of looks like a pricing table type of layout or a table of contents, but there's a lot of other presets here. This one with the images, that looks really good as well. And these are really cool with the translucent background, kind of like frosted glass. Yeah, there's just a lot of really cool looking elements. I'll show you one more. Here is an audio player. I think this is really cool. Let's say you want to embed your podcast on your website. Well, you can make it look kind of like SoundCloud, but still host it on your own website. So that looks really nice. Or if you're a musician and you want to put your music up, you can have an audio player with your album cover. I think album covers kind of get lost in the shuffle these days. Of course, there's some more compact layouts as well. ElementsKit is developed by WP Met, an established WordPress developer. They've got a lot of other tools out there. I definitely wouldn't worry so much about this one being kind of a one and done type of thing. ElementsKit has been around. Obviously, it's got over 100 widgets. So if Elementor is your page builder of choice and you want to pick up an add-on pack, well, ElementsKit should probably be on your list this Black Friday. You can get in as low as $59 and that will give you 5 sites. So if you're doing it for yourself and maybe a few small client sites, you could use that. Or if you really want to scale up your agency, maybe you are an Elementor agency, you could grab unlimited sites for under $200. It's only $177 for the next 48 hours. ElementsKit does have a header and footer builder as well, so you could potentially get around having to pay for something like Elementor Pro. I wouldn't necessarily let that preclude you from using Elementor Pro, but it's out there. Maybe you're on a tight budget, you're just getting going with web development, definitely would consider it. So here's ElementsKit on my WordPress website. One thing I'd recommend that you do is not turn on all of the widgets at once. Probably set up this custom option right here, which basically will turn them all off. Wait a minute, those turn them on. Turn them all off and then only turn on what you need as you actually need it. It's like all this, turn them all off. And then if you're like, hey, I need one of those tickers, well, then you turn it on. All right, that's my pro tip for this review. I'm gonna go ahead and give ElementsKit a 7.9. Now it's time for a little bit of research. Of course, with the help of AI, this is Afforai, currently $59. This is a full-blown research assistant. So if you're writing a book or doing academic research, this tool should have your attention. The UI is dead simple. I recently reviewed Paper Guide, which is a kind of similar product. I feel like Afforai is more streamlined and Paper Guide might be slightly more feature rich, but let's go ahead and take a look at how it works here. So we're currently in what they call the reference manager. This is where you connect all of your sources up. So you can upload files. You can just click right here, upload a file like a PDF or a text file, anything you've got. It takes these formats right here. If you got PDFs, they will OCR them as well. You just want to make sure you set the correct language over here. And then once your files are uploaded, you can click on them. This little sidebar pops open where you can go ahead and tag things to keep them organized. You can take a look at the citations that you have, take some notes, and even chat with the document right here. Now, one interesting thing about the chat was that as I was having it, rather than having like a big long chat roll out in front of my eyes, it just kind of nests everything right here. And then the chat itself comes out in this little pop-out window. And I can even color code it. So I've color coded this one to be green, as you can see right here. But let's say I wanted to only see, how about my red notes? Well, I'll just click up here and I can filter by color. That's pretty clever. I suppose then you kind of have to have a color system in your mind, but I don't know, do researchers just do this? I should point out I am not an academic researcher, in case that wasn't clear. You also have the option to open up the file right here. So you can do that, pops it open in a new window, and you can begin marking it up. You can highlight text. Yeah, really full featured. Now, notice there's key commands for almost everything, like the area highlight is SA. So I'll click away and I'll just type SA, and now it switched tools for me. And now I can just draw an area that I want to highlight. I can leave a note or chat with AI about that particular section. A nice little animation here happens if I want to delete the highlight, by the way. If you click on the delete button, you can't just click it once. You have to click and hold to really confirm you want that highlight gone. There is a text highlight tool as well. So this differs from the area highlight because then I can just select particular lines of text that I want to highlight. It's a little finicky, if I'm honest, at least with this PDF. Like if I go down to the next paragraph, it just highlights everything. So yeah, the idea is good, but I kind of like using the area highlighter a little bit better because it's more precise. And the last option over here is a sticky note. So we can click on this and leave ourselves a note anywhere in the document. So like this alone would be very useful if you're doing research. Like if this was just a PDF reader that let you mark stuff up and leave yourself notes, I think that would be really handy. But of course it's not. It can also organize your notes and you can even chat with AI. So this is the research assistant, another section of the tool, which is the key command G2. By the way, there is a selector down here to show all of the key commands. Right here, it says shortcuts. We click on this and you can see you can navigate the entire tool without using your mouse. That's awesome. I digress. Let's go back to the research assistant. Tons of cool stuff here. We've got 3 different modes that we can chat with. We have document retrieval mode, which will search our own documents and uncover hidden knowledge, it says. Then there is semantic scholar mode, which is going to utilize 200 million peer-reviewed research papers. And then there's Google search mode, which will allow you to use up-to-date sources of information to supplement your research. So I'm a dad. I was just looking up whether or not these food dyes are actually as bad as everyone is saying they are. And it did a little bit of research for me and it actually cited some very specific papers here. If I were a scientist and I needed to go and find this stuff, I imagine this would be very helpful information. So for example, this allergic reactions, it cites this paper right here. Actually, there's quite a few of them, right? So I could click on this one and then it's going to show me the paper. I could visit the site or I could just add it right to my references. So remember what that was called, and let's go back over to my references, and sure enough, here it is. I actually added it in earlier, so it's in there twice. That wasn't a flaw, that was because I did it as a test. We can get rid of it, no problem. Before we go, I mentioned you can tag stuff, but you can also put them into folders. So yeah, really, really handy. And the last thing to throw out there is an extension, but it's not a Chrome extension. There is a Microsoft Word extension. I don't remember the last tool I saw that had a Microsoft Word extension, but if you are a Word user, you will probably be stoked about this. There's an entire video and page here dedicated on how to use it. So I haven't used Word probably since high school, but go check it out if you are into that. Like, is that what researchers still use? That's kind of interesting. All right, onwards to the plans and pricing. $59 is the lowest plan, and you can go all the way up to $429 on tier 3. Now, what are you going to get for that wide range of prices? Well, with the $59 plan, you get unlimited documents, unlimited chat queries, but you are stuck with the kind of lower level models, we should say. So we're at ChatGPT 3.5, GPT-4o Mini, and Claude Haiku. These are fine models, but they're not necessarily the greatest. But if you don't care and you want to bring your own key, you can definitely do that as well. That means you go up to Claude or OpenAI, get your own API key, and then you pay for that as you need it. I think for those of us who are not actual researchers and just want to use a tool like this for our own gathering of knowledge, this might be the play, the $59 plan. You can upload 20 gigs of storage. That is a lot of PDFs, folks. PDFs are not that big, especially when they're text-based. So yeah, definitely a very good value there for 59 bucks. But what do we get when we go up to tier 2? Well, we're going to get those higher end models. We get GPT-4, 4o, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. On top of that, we also get more usage. It says 20 calls per 3 hours. And if you need even more than that, that's where you go up to tier 3. You get everything we already mentioned. We're getting more API credits here. So 15,000 one-time API credits. So if you want to build an app and integrate with this, you could. But more importantly, you're getting 50 calls per 3 hours and organization billing, which includes 2 free extra LTD tier 1 seats. So that means you can add other people. You'll go over to your organization here and you can actually invite other people to collaborate on your research. So tier 3 is actually a team plan for 3 users. Overall, I think Afforai is a great option. I'm going to give it a 7.9 out of 10. You know, back in the days before ChatGPT, you used to hear people mention that they wished they could clone themselves, usually so they could be 2 places at once, or maybe just to get more work done. Well, BHuman Persona, the next deal, is actually promising to do exactly that. All right, so this is a $49 tool, different than regular BHuman. That was in the drop 2 days ago. BHuman's been on AppSumo a few times. This is their new Persona product. Let's take a look. So here we are. This is my BHuman account. Now, before we were looking at the AI Studio, and I wasn't super impressed with this, but Persona is entirely different. So I've trained myself here. What you had to do is upload some audio. You like go into this section here and you talk and it records you. And then from that, it tries to clone your voice. I'm gonna go through all of the features here, but first let's just listen to what the cloned voice sounds like. All right, here we go. I'm gonna hit generate. I would say it took about 15 seconds to output this 3-second clip. Let's take a listen to how good it is. Does it sound like my voice?
My name is Dave Swift, and I review a new lifetime deal every day of the week.
So there's definitely some strong artifacting around that voice. It also wasn't very expressive. It kind of just talked all the way through. So it didn't vary its pitch going up and down at all. Now, the cool thing is you can generate it again. So I'll click this button, do the exact same thing again, and it will be different. It might be even longer. It could be 4 seconds this time, whereas that last one was 3. So this one's still 3. But the results that I get are very, very wide ranging in their quality.
My name is Dave Swift, and I review a new lifetime deal every day of the week.
What I'd love to see is obviously a way to control the speed here. It's just talking too fast. I mean, there's playback speed, but that's not really what I'm talking about, right?
My name is Dave Swift, and I review a new lifetime deal every day of the week.
Okay, so we're not off to a great start. I don't feel like the voice sounds very much like me, but maybe you disagree, or maybe you'll get a better result when you try to clone your voice. But what about the video stuff? How does that all work? So on the menu here, we've got quite a few items. The important ones are the video persona and the knowledge base. So let's go over to the video persona. And then what you do here is you actually upload a video of you talking, and you kind of want to just sit still and talk to the phone for maybe like 35, 40 seconds, or you could use your webcam, however you make the video. Now, one thing that was a little bit concerning here was that when I submitted the video training, the instructions didn't exist, and they still don't 2 days later. And then there's a video down here that says, click for an example of what the end result should look like. And when I click on that, it gives me a broken Vimeo page. So yeah, there was some issues with the other review of BHuman, and Persona is definitely not like a huge leap in quality. But all could be forgiven in a hurry if the video output is amazing. So let's go ahead and check it out. How the next step works after they actually clone your face, which they have cloned my face right here. It says face cloning successfully completed. The next step is right in between these two items. So the workflow is also a little bit confusing. The knowledge base is where the videos are generated from. So you give it some training data, like I gave it the Client AMP website, which is just full of transcripts of these reviews, right? So of these videos that I make. And from that, it created some questions and generated video responses. So we can go over here to the next section, which shows the prompts as well as the responses. I literally didn't do anything for this. It just created them on its own. I could, of course, edit them if I wanted to, but this is what it came up with on its own. So I can watch it right here, or I could record my own response right over here, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? So let's watch the reply to this prompt right here. Where can I find ongoing reviews of the latest AppSumo deals? I'm going to click on the little eyeball. And here's my video. Now I've got a Chrome extension here. Let me close that. When the Chrome extension's open, that goes right over my face, so it's not great. I'm gonna play it again with sound. Here we go.
You can stay updated on the latest AppSumo deals and comprehensive reviews by following the Taco Truck Roundup series by Dave Swift.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, that's the quality. Not super mind-blowingly impressive. I don't think anyone's gonna watch that and think it's really me if they've seen me before, or even if they haven't. Like, it still has the kind of BHuman problem with the jawline kind of overlapping. Let's watch it again.
You can stay updated on the latest AppSumo deals and comprehensive reviews by following the Taco Truck Roundup series by Dave Swift.
I mean, it's better, but it's still not absolutely amazing, right? So as a fan of technology, this is pretty cool, but is it a good business tool? Is it going to improve my business? Probably not a whole heck of a lot. Now, what do you do with this whole thing? Well, they promise that your persona can go to meetings and act on your behalf. I mean, maybe someday, but I don't think anytime soon. They actually have a meeting section over here, but it's only to meet with other personas. So I guess someone else buys this tool and then you guys can send your personas to talk to each other. Well, you don't get out of bed or something. I don't know what the plan is, but you can create a meeting here. You give the persona a username and then the context for the meeting. And then I guess they meet up and you get a report back about how the meeting went. I mean, I don't know how much will be accomplished there. I think at this point, it's just kind of novel, like a cool thing to do. And, you got to take those first steps in technology sometimes. But yeah, again, probably not going to like make you a ton of money. It's not going to close any high ticket deals, I would guess, but maybe. The persona can actually also check your email and then respond to it. I'm not even going to touch this one. But okay, all said and done, when you are finished with your persona and you actually want to use it, there is a share option up here. You can actually embed it right on your website if you'd like to, or you can visit this URL right up here, which is going to pop it open into a new window. And here you should be able to converse with yourself. So you kind of get 3 different modes. You can click right up here and you have text mode, which is what I was just on. You can have a voice mode and you can also have a video chat. Let's try to do a video chat. All right, we got disconnected. I'll try again. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be working. All right, I'm gonna try just text. Let's do text. Actually, inside of text, you can do voice memos. So I can like press this like you do on an iPhone. Hey, how's it going, Dave? I hope you're feeling good. And then you get the triple dots like it's gonna say something back. But in my experience, it never does. Yeah, so I've been waiting here for like 30, 40 seconds now. Nothing has happened. So that's a bummer. Also, they came up with this really lame quote here and then attributed it to me. Like, what's the deal with that? I don't want this under my name. So here are the plans and pricing for BHuman Persona. You can see that for $49, we're gonna get 3 hours of voice conversation per month, 2 team seats, and 2 personas. If you move up to tier 2, you get 10 hours of voice conversation per month, 4 team seats, and 4 personas, as well as 100 browser automation energy points per month. I don't know what that is. I didn't see that. So you'll have to figure that one out on your own, I guess. And then with tier 3, we get 25 hours of voice conversation, 10 team seats, 10 personas, 350 hours, 5 hours of video conversations, a custom domain, face cloning, custom on-page instructions, and persuasion flows. So personally, I think if you invest in this tool right now, it's because you love technology and you want to see how far you can push these things, and it's really cool. And for that, I'm all about it. However, when it comes to this channel, I generally recommend things based on whether they can actually move your business forward right now. And in that scenario, I don't think that anyone's going to be like, I got to work with that person. They have a digital persona. Like, I don't think that's going to move the needle so much. And it's not going to make you more productive either. So I'm going to go ahead and give BHuman Persona 3.9. It needs some work. It needs some polish to really be impressive. Up next is something a little bit fresh. We haven't had any graphic design deals through any of the drops so far. Well, that changes with VistaCreate. And honestly, this might be the best deal out of all of the Black Friday offers so far. Just look at this price. $79 is going to get you access to everything in VistaCreate. No upsells. This is the price, no other tiers. VistaCreate is a lot like Canva, kind of a poor man's Canva if we're being totally honest here. It's pretty good though. Like there's a lot of really nice designs and they keep it updated with tons. I mean, look at this, 70 million photos, thousands of premium. I mean, it's actually 200,000 templates inside of VistaCreate. Absolutely crazy. But we're also getting a team account. We get background removal. We get unlimited storage, infinite brand kits. Like it's a fire sale, man. This is amazing. Now, I actually have a VistaCreate account from a long time ago, and I used to use it a lot and kind of just fell out of it for some reason. I mean, I know the reason. We got a graphic designer, and I'm not a designer, and they're better at that than I am. But let's go ahead and approach this from the point of view of like, you need some social media posts. Maybe you like to do some flyers or even a t-shirt design. You can do all of that here inside of VistaCreate. So we can just scroll through some of the templates here and you see all of the options. I mean, not all of them, because like I mentioned, over 200,000 different templates, but probably what you'd rather do is either sort by the format that you need. So is it going to be photos, vectors, videos, or maybe you want to get like Instagram post or a poster. There is a format for just about everything you can think of. Or what I like to do is just search for templates, right? So I'm going to search for taco truck here. You might think that's pretty like niche, but hey, guess what? There is a lot of taco content on VistaCreate. Now, as I hover over any of the templates, it pops open in a full preview. It looks really nice, very quick, snappy interface. Just move my mouse and then the preview goes away. Here's a chocolate food truck. That sounds pretty tasty. All right, so here is a design. I like this one. Let's check it out in the preview. All right, I would like to use this as my starting place. So I'm gonna go ahead and just click on it. It opens up inside of their editor and it's giving me some, little tips here. I can animate the design. We'll push those aside for now. But this is otherwise, like very, very similar to something like Canva, where we've got our options over here on the left. We can grab stock photos. There are thousands and thousands of photos you can search from. Here we go. Maybe I'll add in a sumo wrestler to my taco extravaganza here. Now this sumo man has a white background. So let's see if we can remove that with the remove background feature. Processing. There we go. Pretty clean job. All right, it fits right in with the rest of the design, doesn't it? It looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna move some of this text so my sumo guy has some space. I don't wanna get rid of it yet, so I'll just kind of slide it over. I think I'm developing the new design language for AppSumo. This looks killer. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm gonna have room for this text, so I can just right click on it and go ahead and hit delete. Okay, so that's the photo section. You can also have videos inside of VistaCreate. You might be wondering like, well, videos with these images. Well, no, you can actually export them as GIFs or little videos that you want to upload to social media. That works just fine as well. So there's a whole library of like little video clips inside of the tool. So here's a little dancing heart. I could just drag it right over into my design. It's 32 seconds long, so I can trim this for an Instagram ad. There you go. Now, I don't want to ruin my taco design, so I'm not going to bring it in, but just to show you, there's a ton here. We got stock music as well, so you can sort through this and find some, how about some chill music? Let's check out a little light drama. Not terrible, right? Now, you can also upload your own music and you can upload your own photos as well. They'll just live over here in the uploads section. You can see I've got some logos and stuff in here from over the years. The other sections are like objects. So these are going to be little illustrations. There's background images. So if you want to just throw something across the back and then layer some text on top of that, kind of making your own template, so to speak. There's a text tool that has lots of nice, beautiful text options. So I can just drop this right in here. Resize it. Maybe I'll spin it around a little bit, throw it in the corner. Now, if you make a mistake, you can of course go and hit undo and then I'll move it back where it was. Now it's really cool that each of these words are actually totally separate items. So I can just move them exactly where it fits for my actual design. We've also got styles down here as well as brand kits. So you can go ahead and set up different kits for your clients and just create all of the social media content you need right here inside of VistaCreate. I can't believe this is $79 for unlimited. That's awesome. Of course, there's a favorite section too. You can favorite items that you like. So if you're scrolling through the photos and you're like, yeah, this is a really great sumo guy, I can go ahead and hit the little heart right here. That moves it down to my favorite section. Oops, I added him back to my design. All right, then here he is inside of my favorites. Yeah, what are you doing? Go ahead and pause the video. Go grab VistaCreate right now. This deal is too good. Even if you only use this a handful of times each year, over the years, it's going to add up and be worth the purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and give VistaCreate an 8.8. It's got to be the best deal of Black Friday so far, just value-wise. I can hardly believe it, but there's only one deal left in this drop. Now, don't worry, I will be back in 48 hours with an entirely new crop of LTDs for drop number 4. Everything will be reviewed, of course, for making your buying decisions as easy as possible. If you want to help me out, just use my link in the description before making a purchase over at AppSumo. All right, onwards to our last deal. This is ZooTools, a brand new deal, by the way, never been on AppSumo before, hitting the main stage on Black Friday. $59 is the lowest price. Let's go ahead and check this out. It's an email marketing tool. So initial impression right when you hit the homepage of ZooTools, a very nicely designed email tool. Clearly, they have a skilled designer working with them to make the user interface very attractive. I like how they laid out the contacts, and then they have tags and properties kind of layered underneath. It keeps this left-hand sidebar nice and trim and simple. Very nicely done. Now, the one issue I have here is functionality. So under contacts, I've added myself as a contact. First of all, they called me a low value user. I mean, a nice first impression. Now, this is actually a feature where they try to judge whether or not someone who signs up is a good fit for your business. And apparently, I'm not a good fit for my own business. I don't know how the scoring is done, but that's what the little tooltip says anyway. So let me give you some context. The very first thing you see when you create your ZooTools account is an option to upload some contacts, right? So here's what it's going to look like here. This message right here, upload some contacts. Okay, so I did. I added myself as a contact. But then once I had the contact, I wanted to apply a tag. And I went into the tag section here and I created a tag called demo. You can add a new one here. Tags are a great way to segment your list. I love that idea. No problems there at all. But I can't apply the tag to my existing contact. The only way I can figure to get a tag applied is to go into the tag and then upload new contacts. It doesn't seem right, but that's kind of where I'm at. Like if I click on my contact here, I can see all of the information over to the right, but there's no listing of tags and there doesn't seem to be an easy way to add a tag. So yeah, that's a feature that is sorely missing. Now you might notice this banner up at the top. I wish it would go away because I've actually tried to verify my account already. If I click on verify account, they take deliverability seriously, and that's important. You want an email provider that takes deliverability seriously because otherwise the spammers will be there and they will wreck everyone's ability to hit the inbox. So I went through their verification process. It's really just a very simple little form asking about your website, your usage, whether or not you plan on sending cold outreach. By the way, this is not a cold outreach platform. Don't use it for that. And then I submitted the form. It'd be nice after I submit the form if this went away because I'm kind of waiting for them to approve me. It's going to take 24 to 72 hours for the approval process. So if you pick up an AppSumo code, just be aware of that. They're doing it manually. So I'm glad I don't have that job. Now you might have noticed I've got two accounts set up here. They're called projects. I kind of like this idea so that you could have multiple clients kind of nested underneath each other. It's basically set up for an agency, a really nice approach. I don't think we get that with the AppSumo deal, but it's ready to go. So the potential is there. You could probably buy additional codes. I don't know. Talk to the founder about that one. I'm not trying to assume anything, but that'd be a nice touch for sure. All right, then we've got our email section over here. There is 3 different categories. We've got our campaigns, which is really more like newsletters. You can't schedule these like a drip sequence or anything like an automated campaign. I'll show you the editor though. It's pretty nice. I've got a template kind of, or a one in progress that I built from a template. And it's got this nice little editor. I think I've seen this before. This is the unlayer editor. So we've got a few little widgets we can bring in. Like I want to add a button here. I can do that. I've got button text. I can style it however I'd like. Adding an image, all the kind of normal email type of things that you do. Now, like when I dropped in that image, it didn't have a placeholder at all. So it kind of just disappeared. I could see maybe a less experienced user getting confused. Like, where did my image go? So yeah, just a few little tweaks to make this more polished. I mean, the user interface is so polished. It's a beautiful app, but the actual functionality now needs to catch up to that appearance. And it is mobile responsive. There's an option right over here, as well as way down at the bottom of the screen. If you go over here, you can switch between mobile and desktop view and just preview what it's going to look like inside of an actual email client. And when you're ready to send, you can go to the final step here to review and send. Now we can send this to all contacts or to specifically tagged contacts, source subject. Then we can set up some specific rules here if we want. I don't have any properties set up. That was the other option under contacts, but that's something you can do as well. Then we have click tracking. That's enabled by default. Opens and clicks are tracked. You can turn that off if you want. It'll give you a little bit better deliverability, but you'll never know about it. And then in terms of scheduling, we can send it now or we can send it later. You choose later and it's just a nice little date picker here. Little modal pops up. Now ZooTools is going to do an automatic warm up of your sending account. It kind of indicates here you're getting your own dedicated IP. I'm not entirely sure of this, but it says once your IP is warmed up, future campaigns can be sent instantly. So what they're really telling you is you can't sign up and then blast out all of your emails at once. they are going to trickle these out for you to improve deliverability. It's actually not a bad idea, but I know that certain clients will be like, I want the emails to go out today. I have to, promote this sale or something. And that's not really an option. So keep in mind that, email deliverability is an ongoing thing. It needs lots of love and care. You don't want to neglect it until you actually need it at the last minute. Now, I can't actually send anything out because my account is not verified yet. So this is kind of where the end of the road hits for me and my email campaign. Now that's campaigns, but there's also transactional emails here. And they got some nice templates for this as well. I just call this one My Receipt. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up. You can see what it looks like here. We can edit the content. Yeah, so here we go. I just grabbed this one randomly. Transactional emails are gonna be things like password resets, receipts, things like that are being sent usually from your application or your website. Now, this is also going to require some API connections because it's how this stuff generally works. So you click on See API connections, and then you need to be a developer or get help from a developer or talk really nicely to Claude to get this stuff all connected up to where it needs to go. It's just a couple of steps, not that big of a deal, but if you are allergic to this stuff and you're just looking for a very pretty GUI to connect up your WooCommerce site or something, this isn't that. And then finally, there's a template section over here where you can set up your emails once and then be able to reuse that overall layout. If you send out like a weekly newsletter, you can set it up as a template of your own and then use that in your campaigns or your transactional messages. The last feature to check out is their forms. I think they're pretty proud of their forms, but I found them to be a little bit underpowered. Now, you might notice there is branding throughout this tool, by the way. I don't think that goes away. Even in the emails, it has branding too. So just keep in mind. But yeah, basically the forms are very simple in my opinion. You only get one form. I was saying it plurally, but you get one form for your sign up form. You can change the colors, the background image, change the spacing a little bit. If you wanted to make it a little bit more luxurious, you can. And then you can set up what fields you need: name, title, email, submit button. They got some fun little, they call them engagement options, like a sign up goal. You can do that. They say a sign up goal is to motivate your audience to sign up by showing a user's goal. So once that's achieved, they'll see success text. I don't know how exciting that's going to be to most people. Oh, you need 99 more signups. I'm going to come back. Anyway, I like what they're trying to do. I'm not sure the execution is there. There's some other options here. We've got our confirmation section where we actually see a leaderboard, which is kind of coming out of nowhere. Like, where do I set up what the points are worth? Where do I set up any sort of rewards, or what do you do with the points? We're collecting points. It just feels like a feature without any context around it. But overall, beautiful app, right? It looks really, really good, but where's everything else? And by the way, if you want to use this not only to sign up for the newsletter, or not even to sign up for the newsletter, because you can toggle that off, you could use it to gather up a Calendly meeting, or I don't know, what else do you want to do? How about follow me on Facebook? You can do that as well. Now, when I turn back on the newsletter option, you're going to see that these all have the same visual weight, and I can't necessarily change too much about. I can change the button color and stuff, maybe make it white, but overall, it's going to make people not sure of what to click. So I'd be very hesitant about adding extra options in here if you're trying to get people to sign up for your email newsletter. Under the integrations, we have webhooks and ZooTools API. Looks like they're going to be adding some additional integrations soon, but that's what's available right now. Over to the plans and pricing on AppSumo. Tier 1 is $59. That gets you 10,000 emails per month with a maximum of 2,500 credits and a single team member. If you move up to Tier 2, you get 30,000 emails per month and 5,000 contacts. Now you get 3 team seats. And if we move up to Tier 3, we move to a whopping 100,000 emails per month and 10,000 contacts, 6 team seats. Worth noting that you get webhooks on Tiers 2 and 3, but not Tier 1. So that is ZooTools. So much beauty, but just a shell inside. It's going to get a 6.4 from me. It could be so much more. I'd keep my eye on this one because it looks like it's on the right path, but probably just very early on. All right, that's it for Drop 3, but don't forget to leave me a comment for the algorithm. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this content. Click my link before buying at AppSumo, and I'll see you back here in 48 hours for drop number 4.